it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass.
Hey. Welcome to the Really Charlie Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Perry. Today's guest is Ross Grace Jr., New Bedford School Committee Member, newly elected just a few months ago, and actually has one school committee meeting under his belt, and he's doing his thing. And actually, I'm very happy to hear that he has the most votes in the city, which is a great accomplishment for an individual running for office, no matter what title it is. That's a great feat. So how you doing, Mr. Grace?
Charlie, hey, first of all, man, I want to thank you for having me on the show. To everybody out there, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I am not the most tech savvy guy. I thought we'd be all set. I try to be timely, but I want to thank Charlie for his patience, help getting me through this. Charlie, it's a pleasure being on your show. Last time we were on, Charlie, I was a candidate, and we were very, very fortunate to pull this off. And I think it's a testimony, Charlie, because it wasn't just myself who got on. You had a young lady named Melissa Costa. She's the first Latina. You had people in the city council like Shane Burgo. I think people were eager to see different faces from different perspectives into city offices. The turnout was low. That was a little bit disappointing. And I encourage people out there to realize the importance of getting out to the ballot box. Sometimes we only talk about it during campaign season, but it's important to talk about it all the time. Your vote does matter. When you vote for a candidate or for an idea and there are numbers behind it, people have to recognize and people have to act upon it. So when you vote, and you vote in numbers, and people of like minds form a block, you can change things. So it's important to vote. And Charlie, we got 4,032 votes. We had more votes than anybody else. And again, that's a testimony not to Ross Grace. That's a testimony to the outstanding team that I had. And I want to thank all the educators, parents, former students of mine who formed our planning committee, helped us organize to get the word out. And apparently it resonated with the people of New Bedford. And again, the numbers mean that what we were saying meant something to them. So as we learn more and more about our ability to work in the school committee, we're going to remember that it was the people who put us in, Charlie. It wasn't an administrator or politician, it was the people. So we're going to remember that. But it's been an exciting journey, It was an exciting journey, I'm happy to be on there. I've learned a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's the one thing about politics, and I always tell everyone, this is what I always say, is that if you're running for political office and you have and you earn that title by getting voted in, that's a blessing. And I like people to understand that those blessings only come to a few people. It's not luck. I don't believe in luck. It's a blessing because you're put in that spot to represent your city, and just one of those things.
And it's something I take a lot of pride in, Charlie. People who know me, I worked throughout my entire life, yourself included. We were activists. We're born and bred New Bedford people. We care about the city first before our profession, everything. We're New Bedford guys who grew up the New Bedford way, and we were able to to influence the community at the grassroots level and at the professional level. And so, Charlie, be honest, you helped inspire me when you would run for mayor and did such an outstanding job, because I wasn't always into this political scene, and I'm still not crazy about the whole dynamic, but I realized the importance of people like those who came before us, of us getting into, so that we do bring our unique experiences into it. And so being an elected official where the people put trust in me, you know, I mean, I have to make sure that I'm holding myself to the best Ross Grace that Ross Grace can be, because I'm representing not just myself, my family, but the community and their ideas. And I want to bring, when we ran Charlie, what we really want to do is make sure that what was going on in the buildings, what the families were going through, was being represented in the way in the school committee. Prior to sitting on the committee, Charlie, it's easy to kind of see and be critical of what goes on. I had just had the sense that what was going on with the school committee was just a bit disconnected. What I was watching on TV and seeing at the meetings were based upon reports, and that stuff's all well and good. But I didn't feel that there was that experience of people being in the buildings, knowing people in the buildings, and how I felt that should be the major focal point of why my voice would run as a former administrator. So with that experience, you know, I think we bring something different. And you have Melissa Costa and myself, and I think we're bringing, you know, different ideas that are more grassroots. And Charlie, now that I'm in there, there's some really good people there, you know, and
Yeah.
I think you have people who really do care. And what I'm seeing so far is a willingness on the people who are there to, what my goal is the school committee can be very procedural. There are a lot of things that are shaped by school administrators. There's a lot of things that come from the city officials, and we kind of just discuss it and vote on it, which is cool. And that's the major role. But I also think we have people who, when we act individually, can just do a little bit more to bring issues of families to the higher levels. But I'll tell you, it was a journey, Charlie, and not to go on, it's just to share, because it's important. One of the things we want to do is we want to put in other people's heads the importance of running. The first time I ran, we came up short. We lost the first time. So we planned earlier, we coordinated more. We had a lot of support from different small businesses, places like Destination Soup and Outstanding Teacher Help with the fundraising. So we planned early. And we had learned from some of the things we had that we could build upon from last time. And our numbers reflected that. So I'm saying that because we're encouraging other young people, especially educators, former educators, to make sure that they have a voice. So, it is possible. It is possible, and your voice matters. So I just want to share a little bit about all that.
Yes, and before we go any further, I just want to thank you, people in the comment section, Jack Nagia.
Yeah.
Got a Facebook
let me tell you a little, Charlie, if you
Yeah.
mind, I'll tell you a little bit about what I see with the school committee.
Yep.
I found it to be initially, you're going in campaign mode, and you're going hard, you're out you're in a community event, you're putting up signs, you're on social media, and then you're in a seat where you have to work with people. You have to remember what your agenda is, in terms of why you were voted in, but you have to do things in a way that relate to the people who you're working with, and still communicate effectively and get ideas from the community. So that's something that I'm learning about. The people who are on the school committee right now, it's very diverse, and I want to speak to people so that they can recognize what New Bedford can do with our vote. We have a Latina woman, Melissa Costa. She brings that to the table, social worker. You have Colleen DeWicki. She's a mother. She's extremely knowledgeable. You have Bruce Olivera, who knows the numbers and everything. You have Chris Carter, who's a stand-up guy, police officer. He showed his integrity with the last administration by being one of the first people to speak about it, about what's really going on. You have Jack Livramento, a pillar in the Cape Verdean community. So we have a good group. What I want to focus on is getting to know them each better, find out what we have in common, and bring ideas from the community, from the teachers, from the students, and on ways to use the money that's come into the schools. There's a lot of money that we have that's coming from COVID relief, and how to, put things in play, and the school committee traditionally doesn't do that. But if you're working with administration, bringing ideas, we want to do things that benefit what's going on in the building. So that's my philosophy going into all of this.
Good. excuse me, the it's good to have some people. It's good to have that diversity. I always,
Yeah,
I'm always stressing that. It's good to um that people can get along and try to come to common agreement, agree to
yeah,
disagree, but at least you come to some kind of solution for the
yeah.
betterment of the students
And that's
and
important because we're going to have differences of opinion, but it's important to be civil and respectful because ultimately, I truly believe with every individual on that committee, with the community organizations like the Coalition to Save Our Schools, Coalition of Social Justice, all these different organizations, and just the mothers and fathers out there, everybody cares about the well being of our children and our future. So if we all keep that in mind and let everything, um, be guided by that, I think we'll do the right thing. And speaking of, Charlie, you're talking about diversity. I want to commend um, the outstanding job of, first of all, the Coalition of Social Justice, but the city as a whole. I have with the innovative charter school that was trying to come into the city. First and foremost, speaking as a parent and people who have their child first, who aren't looking at public schools versus private schools or funding anything that parents want options. They want their kids to go somewhere safe. They want to feel like their kids are getting the best learning experience.
true.
So I'm not going to come in here just going after charter schools per se. I do have my opinions on them because they're privatized. They 85% of state funds go to public schools, 15% are from local, from taxpayer dollars. That some of that money would be diverted to the charter schools, and I don't think we're in that place. So I'm not a huge proponent for it at that time. But at the same time, we have to find out what makes charter schools attractive to families. We have to find out and identify why do parents want to look at that as opposed to our public schools.
Hmm.
And what I'm seeing so far is the public schools, they're really doing, there's a lot of things we have to work on. And we campaigned on that, the stuff
Yeah.
that's on the, that's in the classrooms, that's in the buildings. When you look at the district plans, it's all really good stuff. The stuff that everybody agrees with. Mr. Anderson has an outstanding vision, and he has he's a good man, and I believe that he has the very best intent. I'm saying that because I'm getting to know him and working with him.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that all those great ideas are like translating into the classrooms, and that doesn't always happen. I'm saying that from personal experience, having worked in schools for 17 years, even more so now.
Yeah.
So it's us working collectively together for me, other school committee members, to know what's going on in the buildings, know what's going on with the families, and making sure that's coming into the committee in the city's ears. You know what I'm saying? So,
Exactly.
but it was through collective organization by a coalition of to save our schools, mothers and fathers, city officials, school committee members. Everybody didn't feel comfortable right now with the charter school coming in. Again, the private entities taking money from public schools. I understand all that. But my point being is New Bedford has a history of activism. New Bedford is built upon challenging status quo. We were the beacon of light. We're the people from the Underground Railroad, the 54th Regiment. That's who we are. And when
Hmm.
everybody works together, and that's what was so outstanding about the whole falling out of the charter school, of the innovative charter school. For me, it was more a symbol of what happens when we as New Bedford citizens plan, think, organize, and become part of the process. And we were to convince the powers that be from DESE and
And you
the innovative charter school to pull back. And that
and
came
you
from the power of New Bedford citizens working together.
and earlier we talked about it was that collaboration of citizens,
Yeah,
uh, committee members, city officials, city administration. That was something that's so encouraging
yeah,
because it's it's just not it's not someone getting, it's not a third of people, a third,
yeah,
like a third of a group, or 2/3 of a group beating out another third. It was like A, B, and C all together to
Yeah,
just say, hey,
yeah.
we just don't want it.
And it's
And
symbolic. And we're living in such divided times,
yeah,
more than anything that I've ever experienced, where we are so polarized. We can no longer have civil dialogue on anything without it becoming a right wing or left wing issue. We're fragmented at every level, where if you decide to do this, then you're on that side of the fence, and if you decide
hmm
to do this, then there's so little independent thought. But what happened with this is people weren't thinking about political party. People weren't thinking about right wing or left wing. They were thinking about what was in the best interest of the city. And when we tap into each other and we realize that we all ultimately have the same goals, and we open our ears to one another, I think that we can really change things. Because ultimately, Charlie, and I'm talking to a lot of my base here, I know the people when I was elected, when I was running, people wanted me to go in like Conan the Barbarian and just start attacking things left and right. I know that was my reputation. You know, Charlie, we're both sons of Panthers. We've both been
yeah,
aggressive. We've gotten in a lot of trouble for standing up for ourselves, and I happily got in trouble. You know what I'm saying,
yep,
for things
yep.
we believe in.
Happy trouble. It was
Happy trouble,
good trouble,
and
right?
there are consequences, But
Hmm
I'm not going to be going in swinging swords, Charlie. I'm going to go in learning. I'm going to be sitting back, learning the landscape.
Good job.
More importantly than anything else is being effective,
Good job.
to make sure that we hear what our community and what our teachers need, and working with the people. This is going to be all about relationships.
Hmm
Not to talk about any past members, but there have been members in the past who had outstanding ideas, who I understood, except from what I understand, the relationship part was struggling. So
Yeah.
I want to get to know the school committee members. I want them to get to know me. I want to have frank and honest conversations. I want to hear their ideas, and I want to have respectful disagreements that we come to a common ground with. Disagreements are healthy. And again, we're a diverse group, so I expect that. But Charlie, on a good note, and again, speaking on behalf of school committee, when we came in, we said we wanted things to change a little bit. We've already worked on changing some of the subcommittees, so
Yep.
that they're more meaningful and more tactful. And I'm not going to get into too much detail. I encourage people, if they're interested, they can contact me. Again, I'm new. I don't want to speak too much out of turn or say things that I'm not too articulate upon. But we're establishing new committees, and discarding some other ones that will have a more hands-on approach to the needs of the students and the teachers in the building. And we're still in the developmental stage,
hmm
in terms of how it's going to operate. We discussed it last school committee meeting. So you're going to see changes in the school committee. I have other ideas that we're going to be presenting to make the school committee meetings more family friendly, and how to recognize the outstanding work of teachers and students. Again, I don't want to divide too much, because I want to make sure that I'm talking to my colleagues. But we want the school committee to become something that's energetic, because it can be a vehicle for families to know what's going on in the schools. And I think we try now, but I think we can do better. And we want it to be a place where they know they can go and voice their concerns, and people are really, really listening. Right now it's kind of dry, so and there's a place for that. But we're trying to make sure that the school committee is reflective of the energy of the city of New Bedford, if that makes sense, Charlie.
Yeah, it does. Um, so in that first meeting that you had,
Yeah,
you go in the doors and you gotta inhale.
yeah.
When it was finally over, did you exhale and say, "Phew, it's over"?
Hey, Charlie, it was. See, anybody knows me that I'm like a really, really intense guy, good and bad, and I go really hot. So with the campaign, we were going really, really, through the entire year, from, speaking engagements and having to modify approach because of COVID, to fundraising, staying on top of money. People don't understand. I shouldn't say that. I didn't understand the work that it takes, and your mind is in constant motion. And so you transition from that. And then, Charlie, I got COVID right during election time, very worst
Hmm
time possible. But then you get the hype of the victory. You're proud of your team. It's settling in. Then all of a sudden, all that stops, and you're sitting in a chair with other people who have more experience than you, whose ideas you may have challenged, or they may have challenged yours, and you're like, all right, this is where it gets real, you know.
hmm
And it took me time. This whole process has taken me time. And again, I'm saying that for anybody else who decides to run in the future. You don't just go from like campaign mode to all of a sudden you're just like, all right, you're sitting in chair knowing everything. It's a learning and growing process. And I'd be foolish to go in there still in campaign mode with a sign on. You know, I want to get to know everything that's going on. I want to um, stay in contact with community organizations, with the local New Bedford Educators Union. I'm staying in touch with all peace, and I'm going to be upfront about that. I don't believe in being insular. I don't believe in being isolated. I'm going to be meeting with all parties so that we have a well-rounded voice. I want as much information and ideas as possible, so whenever I'm talking to one group, I can share that and articulate that. But you go from all that, and then you're sitting in the chair, and like everything just stops, and now you're processing, you're thinking, you're hearing different language. You have a camera on you, you know? So it's a whole different experience, and I'm learning about it. But we're going to be effective. And again, it's not just Ross Grace, it's not just our team. I'm talking about our school committee. I'm talking about our public schools. I'm talking about our families. I'm talking about our children. Collectively, we're going to be successful in making New Bedford schools the best that they can be, and highlighting what they're doing right, because it's important. These teachers are working hard. Some of these students are doing incredible things, and we focus on the negatives. Negative does bring attention, you know, but there are outstanding things going on. And at the same time, we want to look at how do we improve conditions where we're decreasing violence? How do we improve conditions where there isn't so much marijuana use? You know what I'm saying? How do we improve those conditions in the building? How do we improve conditions for teachers so that they're not giving up their planning time? We have to keep pushing as a school committee to make sure that our paraprofessionals are getting what they deserve in terms of their work, their effort. We want to make sure that they can feed their families, and we are discussing that already. The school committee is, yeah. You know, it's in, you know, people, you know, again, I got to be thoughtful about, you know, I say, except I can say for certain that, you know, there is work. The union's at it, and the school administration is at it, and I know that there is pressure to do the right thing on behalf of parents. Which is important. So I'm seeing that, and again, I can't get too much in it, but I can assure people there is a fight to make sure that we heard loud and clear. And prior to me being on the committee, I was out there with the paraprofessionals, and that's why it's important to be active. That's why the coalition was effective. That's why, you know, what the pals are fighting for is on the table now. It's important for people to be out there and have a voice. You know, because we're going to listen. If you're out there with a sign and I'm driving by, I'm like, hey, what's going on? If you're calling me or send me a message. So be involved, community. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, you have people who are going to respond to that, you know? So, that, yeah.
Some of what you said was in this comment here, and says, on the contrary, or disrespect to any former committee member, school committee member, I would absolutely say that I am a lot more at ease for my grandson's future education. We are fortunate and blessed to have Ross strive for excellence for the children in Bedford. And I just want to, yeah.
Hey, Charlie, you have no idea how humbling it is to hear things like that. And again, you know, I'm talking all over the place. It's one of the most rewarding experiences, and I don't. You know, I think it's very, very important to all of us, you know, regardless of position or title. I've accomplished a lot, but I think it's important to remember that we're all human, that we all have ups and downs, you know, and we have all that. And so the highlight of this entire experience was by being surrounded by so many incredible people. People from the school department. You know, I worked at the YMCA. There were people involved there. The people from my current job, and with DYS, they supported me. My friends, family, my former students, and it helps you remember who you are. You know, I don't think I'm an arrogant person. You know, I have my days that are just wonderful, days that are awful. But when you hear that, it inspires me, and it makes me feel good about what I do, because I don't see myself as anything all that. I'm a normal guy like anybody else in this city. I have my beliefs, and I stick by beliefs. I don't compromise, and I'll deal with the consequence. But I'm as human as anybody else. And so when I hear stuff like that, Charlie, it means the world to me. And what I do promise everybody, is we will be as knowledgeable as possible. We will work as with intent and belief at all times. We will keep our teachers and our students at the first and foremost. Prior to administration, prior to administrators, it will be teachers, students, and families. And we're going to work collaboratively the best that we can to make these things happen. It's important. And again, I'm going to keep urging people, those who will watch us, spread the word, get involved, show up to a meeting, contact me. If there's something you don't believe in, stand up for it, because people are going to listen. If you sit back, then things roll back upon you. But if you're assertive, then people are going, you're going to make a difference. Again, Charlie and I were activists for a large part of our life. I think we still are. But now that, people like myself, Shane Burgo, Colleen DeWicki, and, Derek Baptiste, our in the people are going to be, you have people who are going to do their best to listen and make it happen, as I like to say.
Yeah. There's one thing that I'm very proud of is the elected officers, both school committee and citywide. You I think there's some voices that are gonna be a little bit different and bring another point of view on both, and at both committees, whether it's at City Hall,
Yeah.
the City Council chambers, or the administration, or even at the
Yes.
school committee. There's
Yeah.
some voices that are gonna definitely kind of go ahead.
It's important, Charlie, because if nothing else, even if we're on the learning curve, those of us who are new, I think it says something to have people with different experiences on the city council and the school committee. They're different ideas. They're reflective of different parts of our community. And so I think that in and of itself, when people put us into office, I think that was a statement by New Bedford to begin with, because there were younger people. There were people who have grown up right in the city. All of us are like homegrown. So I think just the fact that you have a Shane Burgo, a Derek Baptiste, a Melissa Costa, I think that is speaking to New Bedford's interest in seeing things going the way they are, and we all, I'd like to say that we're all taking that serious. And again, I never really believed in being an elected official. That was never me, Charlie. That. We work from the outside and put pressure in from the outside.
Yep.
But at the same time, we still need people to put pressure on the outside. But now with the people who put pressure on the outside, you have people of like minds on the inside. We can bring ideas that reflect the needs of what goes on in our community. And one thing I do want to say, Charlie, so here's a funny story. One of the first posts I put up about since being part of the school committee was informing people about the weather and keeping them up to date about what the school would be doing. And I was just putting out information, and I had a lot of thank yous and kind words. I had people blasting me for something I had nothing to do with. So it's funny because, you have this idea how, you think somebody's on a school committee and they have a magic wand and all this happen. It's a collaborative effort, But what I am going to promise is I am going to be transparent. I will put information out there. I ask people to be aware of the political process so that we know we can be, when we're informed, we're more effective in communicating what we want. In other words, we're just yelling and screaming and blasting people without understanding who does this and that. You're kind of like yelling into the Grand Canyon, So it's important to be informed.
Yes, it is.
So who to talk to. Know your local, know your city councilor. Know who the school committee members are. Send them an email. Most of us are on social media. Get an idea. I mean, I'll respond to everything. I think I'm pretty good at that. And if I don't know, I'm gonna reach out to you. I mean, I'm gonna find an answer and I'll get back to you. But get to know people and get involved. So, like I said, I mean, it's an exciting time right now. And again, I think because you have different people on, I think you're going to have a different. For example, Black History Month came up during the last school committee meeting, and there was a lot of energy from the school committee members. And I also want to say that the administration, I think, did an outstanding job. Again, I'm going to say about Mr.
Agree.
Anderson and his staff. He really does care, and he really does have the values that I relate to in terms of history, in terms of making sure that it's an everyday thing and not just allocated to a month. But again, my job as school committee member is to make sure that it's translating into the classrooms. because, there are things that are going on. Here's another thing that we ran upon. Well, again, our curriculum from the state, which designed the state from private industries, and they're imposed upon public schools.
Yes.
Now I'll talk about Common Lit at Keith Middle School. I'm not Keith Middle School. In the middle school, it's called Common Lit. It's an English program. Common Lit does not include anything whatsoever for the month of February for Black History.
Wow.
So now here's the problem with that. The teachers are feeling pressure, trust me, to stick to the curriculum because that's been hammered upon them to stick to the curriculum. Outside that, they're losing planning time. You know what I'm saying? So there's a pressure on them to teach to the state standards and what's presented in front of them. So here, the vision is of the schools to say, yes, we need to promote inclusion, diversity, all history. You know what I'm saying? We need to have a strong Black History Month. But the curriculum saying something different. And that's the little impasse that we have sometimes. And so we discussed that at the school committee. And we talked about, are the teachers and the administrators in the building being given the flexibility? Are the administrators giving their teachers the flexibility to make sure that they're teaching all children all history and not just one facet of it? Because that's what's going on. So again, that's through that working together, I know teachers, I know what's going on in the building. So I brought that superintendent. He listened. He's not like pushing back. I don't think he's giving any baloney, but I want to bring what I know is going on in buildings to make sure that we're all working together to get the best results, because those are one of those things we have to work on. And that's the problem, Charlie, and it's not going to be over yet, is high stakes state mandated testing be shaping the paradigm and the way we look at public education. And as time goes on, that is something that we will address, and it's something that we will do the best that we can to show that it is not in the best interest of our students. It's not in the best interest of our teachers, not in the best interest of our buildings. We have to identify other ways to make sure our kids are ready for their future, not for what the state says or all this, but for their individual future. And that's by making our schools as strong as possible, looking at why families are sending their kids to other schools as opposed to ours, and making our schools as strong as possible.
Good. I was trying to share this podcast on your committee page, but I had to send it to the messenger. So just want to let you know that's there, just in case you want to post it on your committee page. It's there. It's on your personal profile also. Just everybody, that if you share this podcast, please make sure that it's public so everyone on your pages could answer and comment to anything that I'm saying or Mr. Grace is saying. So, just make your post on your page public.
I want to thank you. And next time, folks, I will be a little bit more prepared. I started setting all this up, Charlie, about 15 minutes early, and that's how untech savvy that I am. And I will spend more time so we get this all right, so that I'm looking a little bit more presentable. I'm using my cell phone right now, so I apologize for the poor quality, and I apologize for the show being held up, but I still think we had a great discussion, Charlie. I appreciate all your work, and I appreciate the citizens of New Bedford, Massachusetts. I'm one of you guys, born and raised in Brickenwood, and we're just here to do the very best by our children. We're asking everybody to be a part of it. Spread the word, get involved, challenge things. This is our city. I said that message before at an event, probably not in the best of way, Charlie, but this is our city. This is our city, and it is what we decide it's going to be. And a testimony of that right here, right now, was the organization of city officials, school committee members, community organizations, pulling together for one common goal and achieving that goal. And if we approach that with that same mindset and work through our differences for the greater interest of our students and educators and families, there's an awful lot we can do, and I want to be part of that process.
Good. I don't know if you want to mention what you possibly intend to do after each school committee.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about that?
Yeah. So I was thinking, one of our ideas, one of our promises was to be more transparent. I'm very fortunate, with social media, a lot of people on my Instagram, Facebook page. I try and get as much information out there as possible, but I want to keep people updated in the language that they relate to. I speak, I do my best to speak ordinary talk, this political language stuff. But I'm hoping that I'm working with Charlie, so that I appear on Really Charlie podcast regularly, monthly, following school committee meetings, so that I can give my opinions on what discussed, and I can discuss appropriate information to share with the community. And again, I have to be honest with people who ask questions and stuff. I am not going to speak for other school committee members. I'm not going to um, uh, go that route, but I will give my personal opinion on important issues and where I stand on things, and I'll be spreading things that are pertinent to the families that they should know, school cancellations, updates, all this and that. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to keep people informed, and it would be great if we do that on a regular basis, Charlie. You know,
Sure
again, I
would.
want to make sure that people are informed. I want to make sure that I'm visible and accessible to our community at all times.
And feel free, anytime that, you come on the podcast and you feel that someone could kind of is in some kind of form of collaboration with you with maybe a certain project or part of a committee,
Yeah,
and you want them to come on also, that's
that's great.
automatic. We
That's,
send them the feed just like I send you the link, and that's what I would do with them, and we do the same. I'm just trying to be beneficial, be essential, and accommodating to the city of New Bedford
yeah.
and the podcast listeners, throughout this spectrum here, this platform. So
Yeah.
at
And Charlie, I'm gonna leave it on this note, and it just, when you speak, it just reminds me that it's when it's so easy to get caught up. We live in a very fast-paced society. It's so easy to forget and lose sight of what people went through for us to be here right now, to have this opportunity, for you to have a podcast, for me to be, for you to run for mayor, for me to be in this position right now. Uh, People literally, our fathers, our grandparents, those before us, gave their lives for the right to vote, for the right to go to school, for our women to have access to education. People literally gave their lives for the moment that we have now. And I'd be remiss if I didn't remind us of that. And we
mhm,
live in our own lives. We deal with our own demons. We deal with our own things on a regular basis. Bills, you know what I'm saying? Financial stress, mental health. We deal with that. But I think it's so important to keep in mind that other people did too, who were before us, and they did things for us to be here. So we have somewhat of responsibility to be part of our community, to be part of our society, and to challenge things that we agree, that we disagree upon, and to enhance and strengthen things that is beneficial to things at a larger level. It's a responsibility. People died. And so, I've always carried that. I know you have too, Charlie, and there's a lot of us who have. And I think it's important, for us to keep that in mind as we go about our crazy, busy, hectic, stressful lives.
exactly. I agree
Yeah.
100%. The you talked earlier about voting, and I can't stress it. And I know you feel the same way, that you got to vote. You can't just register to vote, put your name on a list, and don't cast your vote.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very, very important that you vote, and it doesn't have to be like, you just vote who you think is going to help out our
Yeah.
city in general.
Yeah. People
And
say their vote. Yeah. People say their vote doesn't make a difference. And I get that, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I get skeptical. You look at, at the national, I get that. But in particular, locally, your vote matters. Last time I lost by a small amount. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? It wasn't even it was less than 70 votes. It was small. Your vote matters. And again, right? People look at the numbers. I've been part of it. And this too, Charlie. People look at the precincts. People look at the wards, and they look at how many people are voting, and they're going to base their ideas. They're going to cater to where people are voting, where there are blocks of people voting. People are not going to cater to where people aren't out there hitting the ballot box. And again,
hmm
that's wrong, because we should be catering to everybody, except if you're out there and you're voting with people of like mind, people are going to respond to that,
Yes,
especially at a local level.
I
So
agree.
it's important. And again, when you have a block and you're organized, you can push things through, or you can influence and shape things. And that's part of our community problem in particular. Our particular community is that pulling together. We do that. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of infighting that if we pull together citywide, culture-wide, and it
Yeah.
sounds corny and cheesy, unity and pull together, but it's not, because again, look at what just happened over these last couple of days. We innovated charter school. It's not just cheesy language.
It's so true. The if if you review the list, especially when I ran, and all the people that I seen that didn't vote was amazing.
Yeah,
A lot of missed votes, missed opportunities,
yeah,
and could have swung some things in a different direction.
yeah,
But I was very proud of that campaign, very proud of running,
yeah,
and and just like I know you was on both occasions when you ran, it's it's till this day it's still mentioned, it's still talked about, in my circle, and I'm pretty sure in your circle that you still talk about that first time,
oh yeah,
it's good.
yeah,
I don't. Sometimes there's always some people are trying to put a negative vibe in
yeah,
something that you're doing, and when I try to tell everybody that, yeah, it didn't happen, but it was good, a good experience. I enjoyed it,
yeah.
and
And Charlie, what you did, I mean, listen, when you're running, you're still shaping things, because I remember when you was running, County Street had a lot to be desired at that time. You brought
yeah,
it to attention and it was addressed. So even if you didn't go in, you were still shaping and influence what was going on. The first time I had run, it was myself and Dr. Christopher Burl.
yep,
And at the time, and we both lost, except the conversation at the time was how well the schools are doing. Look at our test scores, this, and that. And so Dr. Burl and I were able to transform that conversation about, number one, how scores can be manipulated, how we both had personal experiences, and we were able to frame and change the conversation about what do these scores really, really mean, and should that be the focal point? So even if you lose, you're still shaping things.
yeah,
So, and you learn a lot. I mean, at a personal, selfish level, it's gratifying because you're around good people, you're putting your energy into good things, and you're connecting and you're hearing ideas. It's just good for self growth, you know and it's a good experience. And again, I'm going to keep pushing. And there were other people on school committee who had this idea. Honestly, it was, Colin DeWicki is big on this. There's already recruiting and putting the word out to other people to consider running. Next election is not for 2 years, but get out. You know what I'm saying? Consider it. Think about it. Talk to people who are already on. We need ideas. We need people to change things and challenge things, to shake things up. That's what democracy is about. So, think about it. If you're thinking about it, why not jump in? You know what I'm saying? What you could do is lose. And we all lose,
yeah.
and then you get back up and you
True.
try again. We all lose, so, but, consider getting in, have that courage to make a difference. Yeah.
Exactly. The let's see. Mr. Texera says I'm glad I got to see you both. Keep up the good work. Peace and power to you. Yes, another great friend
Yeah.
of ours, great teacher. Miss talking to him. Got to talk to him some more.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's check out.
Donna Grace says, New Bedford's finest. Hi, Charlie and Ross. How you doing?
How we
I
doing, Miss
really want
Grace?
to, yep, really want to tell everyone that's listening and commenting, we really appreciate it and continue
Yeah.
to support the Really Charlie podcast
Yeah.
and Mr. Ross Grace.
Yeah. No, we do really appreciate it. So,
All right, man. So let me see. Who would you like to see on the Really Charlie podcast?
Charlie, I had been thinking about that and thinking about that. There are so many people who are doing so many outstanding things, and you've had so many incredible guests. Oh man, who would be somebody that would be absolute? What about Dana Ribeiro? Has Dana been on yet?
Yeah, she was on the beauty salon segment, giving her
Oh
piece,
yes,
and
that's right. That's right. That's right.
and then her and I had talked. We're gonna do something with the wind farms and everything. So that's coming up soon. Once we lock down a date, then she'll be on doing that.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for that.
How about, let me see, who would be somebody that's of interest? We've had Josh. Oh my goodness. Has Derek Baptiste been on yet?
He's been on, but we're due only because the conversation, and there's one thing about the podcast with Derek was it was just organic. We were just talking, chopping it up, and
Yeah.
it was very, very popular podcast till this date. So I like to have him come on,
Yeah.
and chop it up again.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Mr. Baptiste back on to talk about the outstanding work he's doing in Ward 4. And, Derek has been an outstanding just brother in the community. I mean, just, from working with the kids when I was at Connie, he used to volunteer his time for the basketball team. He helped, at Keith Middle School. He would come and check in on the kids. So he's coached sports everywhere. He's a good dad. He's just one of those, everyday New Bedford guys who's just making everybody proud. So, Silky B, I'd like to see you back on the show. If you're watching this, it's important that they're visible. And that Shane Burgo too. I think it's important. Melissa Costner, I'm thinking about it. Maybe we have some of the people who just getting off, so some of the newer, fresher faces, step up. But I'd like to see Derek. Because Derek's always just good to watch and listen to, but yeah.
Hey, believe this, Melissa Costa and Lisa White was truly going to be my first guest on here. And, and the thing is that we were trying to do it through Zoom, and it didn't work out. Technical difficulties. Brand new rookie host I was, and so it didn't work out. But officially she is my first guest, her and Lisa White. But it never came through. So. But I will. Shane's been on during the campaign. And congratulations to Shane Burgo for the feat that you did, and
that was outstanding.
People are proud of you, and everyone's proud of him. He's a good dude. And he can get the job done. I want to ask you. You're gonna put you on the hot seat right now.
Yeah.
Have you ever tasted Ian Abreu's chili? Because he keeps bragging about it being.
No.
Yeah,
hey,
all right.
Ian's a good friend of mine, and Ian, hey, listen, I'm gonna message you after we get off the podcast because I haven't heard anything. So Charlie, it's to die for.
Yeah.
Oh man, no.
I don't know, but he's been telling me for years to have a chili cook-off. So, and he thinks he can win it. So maybe I'll have to, especially with all this pandemic stuff going on.
We're gonna have to message Mr. Abreu. All right, Mr. Abreu. Now you're piquing my curiosity. I know you do a good job. Congratulations, Mr. President. But yeah, I want now my curiosity is piqued, sir.
All right.
Oh man. But like I said, there's it's so easy to get down on our city, but the thing about it is there are challenges everywhere. There are good things and bad things everywhere, but New Bedford has some we're a unique city, and there's just some really good people. There's some really good things here. And again, it's important to address what's wrong. It's important to look at things that we have to focus on to make better. It's important to be critical, but at the same time, we got to celebrate just some of the really good people, some of the wonderful things, the beauty that we have, the unique beauty that we have. We need to celebrate our incredible history. The history that we have as a people. Again, as the city of light. As again, I get redundant, but the Underground Railroad, the Frederick Douglass, the 54th Regiment, the Quakers. We have to remember that, the Black Panther Party, the women's suffrage movement. Those are things that we have to remember. That's who we are, and it's our time, to make sure that we're doing that, and then making sure that younger people are aware of, of our history and culture,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, when you see moms, you tell her I said hello.
I will, Mr. Perry, and send love to the family.
And those 3 fabulous children you have, give them a high five for me.
I will. Blessed.
How's it gonna work out when you're gonna go into your home eventually during one of the holidays or any day, and you're gonna hear 3 Dr. Graces in it. Dr. Grace, Dr. Grace, and Dr. Grace.
Hey, Charlie, man, I'll tell you, I'm so, hey, listen, there are certain things in this world that are just like, you know, and there's nothing like my three children. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's hard getting on just at a whole different level. You know, I mean, as time goes by, you know, seeing them grow up, and you're thinking about when they're little, but they've all done such outstanding and amazing things. You know, they have an incredible mother. You know, and I did my best to see the fruits of all that, an outstanding family. You know, and our family, the motto is, it takes a village.
Yep.
But just to see them fly, and I'm so proud. They've all taught me so much, and they've all helped me grow as a father. You know, and it's not easy being a dad of older kids, because you know, you're trying to balance how much do you push on them, impose on them, and how much freedom do you know, because they don't really want to deal with you, and you're getting middle aged. You know what I mean? You know, they're doing their own thing. You know, so you want to be there for them, protect them, but you don't want to smother them. You know, and so it gets tricky, Charlie. You know, that in and of itself drains my end. You know, that's tough. So
they will do their thing, and they will make it through, and they're gonna continue to make you proud.
Yeah.
And we're proud of you. You keep up the good work.
Thanks, Sean.
Definitely get back to me when we're gonna shut up the other one and the other podcast, and that's it. You know, it's open to you. It's open to the whole school committee, man. You spread that word before the meeting. Say, hey, you know, everybody. You know, actually, a very popular name that gets requested on this podcast is Mayor Mitchell. They want Mayor Mitchell on this podcast.
Oh man, I'll bring it up, Charlie. I definitely will. Hey, mark my words, I will. Mark my words. Watch my CM next. I definitely will.
Yeah, it's
and I'll let the rest of the people know. Again, it's important for people to be out there, be visible. That's important. That's one thing that I was, you know, very adamant about. You know, making sure the people knew what I thought, what I believed, and to hear their ideas so that I can bring them. So I want to be as visible as possible, and accessible as possible. You know, that's my goal. You know, so that's why we get paid the big bucks on the school committee.
yeah, a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you guys on the school committee, guys and girls, keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Charlie.
From A to Z, I really appreciate it, and I'll continue to follow everything that you guys do.
Thank you, Charlie. And again, once again, people, Charlie, thanks for having me on. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Again, I'm on my cell phone. Everything just fell apart at the last minute. But we'll make sure when on next time, I'm presented just a little bit better, and I will make sure that we are properly on time. I don't like being late for things, so I do apologize for that. And thanks for being flexible with me, Charlie, and still making it so that we can get on it, share our message.
Yep, that's the most important thing. Get the message out there, and we did that. So good job, Mr. Grace, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And Bedford, take care. And again, you can, I'm on Facebook. You can go right to my personal page, Ross Martin Grace Jr., or Committee to Elect Ross Grace. That's also on Facebook. And I'm also on Instagram. Contact me at any time. And I assure you, I will respond. And I will work with the best that I can. I promise you that. Thank you.
Awesome. Great job, man. I can't wait for the next time. And go from there. Need me, you call me. And all I could do is say yes or no, right?
That's it.
All right, bro.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. All right. Take care of him. And
congratulations.
Upon the Really Charlie podcast.
Appreciate that. All right.
Thank you. All right.
Peace.
Take care. Peace.
As always, a great guest doing his thing. You know, great accomplishment. Great job being proactive and trying to get on the podcast to send this message out that he delivered today. It's real important that you know, you try to reach out to something different, something that's not normal, something that's not thrown in your face like some other news entities around this area. What you need is something like this, Really Charlie podcast. You need other podcasts that are going on throughout the city by city residents. There's many podcasts out there. You got to look for them, and that's what you need. You know, you need some other entities to give you not a scripted story. You know, we're trying to be organic here, and there's many others that are doing the same thing. I actually And I want to give a shout out to it. And this is something that is very dear to me, like this podcast. And that's WMB1 Radio. Here's a hoodie. They got them for sale, man. Support WMB1 Radio every day. Try. You got a new app. You can search the app and get on the radio station 24 hours, 7 days out of the week. And as you see on the bottom line, it says, I'm a host on WMB1 Radio with Russell Ramus on Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And feel free to just get the website. It's www.WNB1Radio. One is spelled out .com, and put that in your browser, and you can let the music play from hip hop. And as we play on Tuesday, there's R&B. There's several other DJs on there doing their thing. And please support that radio station. It's New Bedford's own WMB1 Radio, produced and owned by Brian Magnet, as we call him, B-Mags, doing a great job and trying to make you guys proud. In the Abstract Labs, Abstract Music Building at 6th and Union, they're doing great things. And thanks to Mikey Montero doing your thing. We appreciate you bringing your brainstorm to New Bedford, Massachusetts, your hometown. And it takes things like that to make things a whole lot better around here, by people just bringing their thoughts and their money and their everything, bringing their spirit to the city, and we can be proud of. I love wearing a New Bedford t-shirt. I love wearing Really Charlie Podcast t-shirt. I love wearing a WMB1 Radio sweatshirt. I love wearing Abstract Music hoodie. Those are the things I like to wear because they represent our city. It's very, very important. All right. Put your money in this little circle here, this little city, and it goes full circle. We support each other. Keep it within the city limits, and we'll do fine. Support local, and we'll be fine. All right, everyone. Tomorrow I have a great guest, Anthony Black from from Star 107 FM. It's a radio station out of Columbus, Ohio. This dude is unbelievable. U.S. veteran from the U.S. Army, 82nd Airborne, definitely doing his thing. I love his conversation. He will be on here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Loves R&B and music like I do, so we're going to talk about a few things, and can't wait. So tomorrow, Anthony Black, please tune in. Support this young man. He's older than me, but he looks younger than me. Support him, and we'll go from there. Join me tomorrow, the Really Charlie Podcast. All right, everyone. Take care. God bless.